Hola muchachos, ¿qué tal? Buenas tardes, aquí tienen el horario para hoy, viernes el 11 de marzo. You did have homework due for today, core workbook page 56 and 57, and to continue working on your project for chapter 2AB, which is due when we come back from break, the first day we're back from spring break. Learning targets are to distinguish the use of ir and ser in the preterite, to talk about where we went in the past, and to use the verbs hacer, tener, estar, and poder in the preterite to talk about why people were able or unable to do certain things. Your warm-up for today is filling in the blank with the verbs, one of the verbs, hacer, poder, tener, and estar, to complete each of those questions, and then also answer those questions. For number one, ¿qué hiciste tú durante el fin de semana? ¿Qué hiciste el fin de semana pasado? And you're going to respond by saying what you did last weekend using the preterite of whatever verbs you'd like to use. Number two, ¿a dónde estuviste? ¿A dónde estuviste tú anoche a las 8:30 de la noche? Where were you last night at 8:30? Use the verb estar in the preterite to indicate where you were last night. Yo estuve en casa. Yo estuve en el restaurante. Número 3. ¿Qué tuviste que hacer para ayudar en casa? What did you have to do recently to help around the house? Use the verb tener in your response to say, I had to, and then maybe some of the key vocab from page 126. The chore vocabulary we looked at the beginning of this chapter. So, yo tuve que lavar los platos. Yo tuve que cocinar. The last one, ayer pudiste ver el partido de basketball de los Guerreros? Were you able to watch the Warrior game? Pudiste ver. You're going to use poder in your response in the yo form. And begin by saying yo pude. Sí, yo pude ver el partido de los Guerreros, or no. Yo no pude ver el partido de los Guerreros. That's your warm-up. We're going to go over the study guide for your midterm, which is next class. Midterm, febrero, perdón. Is going to be about 35 to 40 minutes long. The format is reading comprehension and listening comprehension. There are the key terms and concepts for you to study for your midterm, the key vocabulary for shopping, direct object pronouns, and the irregular conjugations of ir, ser, estar, hacer, tener, and poder. And those are the page numbers that correspond with the textbook. Gives you a little bit of description of what to expect for the reading section and the listening section. It'll be very similar to your final exam from last semester. After we go over the study guide, we'll go over your homework that was due for today, core workbook pages 56 and 57, and then you have an in-class review activity, guided workbook pages 103, 4, and 5, and that is for you to submit by the end of today, and then prepare for your midterm. For guided page 103, you have the irregular conjugations of the verbs ir and ser in the preterites. For part A, circle the conjugation that matches the context or that matches the form provided in context. So, for example, ayer fue un día muy interesante. Primero, mi familia y yo fuimos. Nosotros fuimos al parque zoológico. Mis padres, ellos fueron a comer un helado. To do this activity, everything you need there is on page 103 at the top. For part B, fill in the blank with the correct form of either ir or ser. So you're going to use this chart that you should have in your notes by now. They tell you whether the verb ir or ser is being used. If you want to take it one step further, maybe underline the context clues that correspond with whether to use the verb ir or ser. Consultorio is a location, doctor's office. Centro is a location, downtown. So for example, anoche yo fui al centro. Fui al centro. Luego Marcela y yo fuimos a cobrar un cheque. Fuimos. For the remainder of your homework, or in classwork rather, you're using the regular conjugations of hacer, tener, estar, and poder. Similar to page 103, you're choosing the conjugation that best fits the context. ¿Qué hicieron tú y tu familia ayer? Nosotros tuvimos que ir al centro. ¿Qué hizo tu papá? What did your dad do? Talking about him in the él form. He had to send a letter. Tuvo que enviar una carta. Lastly, page 105, using the verbs estar and poder, include the missing ending according to the subject provided in context. For example, ayer yo estuve en el parque por una hora. Mi amigo Pablo no pudo venir. And for part C, you're provided the verb in parentheses and you're conjugating it according to the context. For example, el fin de semana pasado yo estuve en casa. Mi hermano Tito tuvo que hacer una tarjeta. That is your in-class review activity, guided workbook pages 103, 4, and 5. Study for your midterm. The study guide is right there, and all the key terms and concepts laid out on that paper. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to have submitted the homework that was due for today, core workbook pages 56 and 57, and a reminder your project due when we come back from spring break. Ciao.